to episode 2 or episode 4 of the podium. Seth, I'm really excited. I know that we haven't been here the
I
last couple
know,
weeks.
it's been a few weeks, and the Hoosiers are 7-0.
It's pretty exciting.
It is exciting.
The product they're putting on the field, the fans, College Game Day this week.
Yeah, but we're
at
not even
McAfee.
on ESPN. We're on Big Ten Network.
We are? We're not on
Yeah.
ESPN?
No.
Either way, I'm so excited for College Game Day. Seth, I know we want to get into other stuff, but what time are you going to wake up on Saturday?
I don't think it's a matter of when I'm going to be up. I think I'm going to be up the whole night. I think we're going to camp out for game day.
Yeah, I think that's a great move. Got to camp out. There's going to be tons of people there. I was watching the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and he was talking about how Bloomington, this great sports town, college town, they haven't had game day here ever.
I thought
gonna
it's been
be-
here at least once. I
gonna be
found out
booming.
yesterday that it was the first time. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
It feels a little petty in a way that they're coming here. They're like probably only come here because we are 7-0 and an exciting football team and have never been losing yet this season. So, yeah, it's exciting, but at the same time, it's not the biggest game in the world, but it's gonna be exciting and fun.
Yeah,
and I'm ready.
I think it's one of the biggest games of the week, which I think is extremely.
I
interesting to
agree.
see. Yeah,
Especially with Taven Jackson in. It'll be a little different. Obviously he came in and he played most of the game last week and he looked great. He looked a lot different than last season. He threw some dimes. Overall, I think the team's going to be ready for Washington. Yes, Washington did beat Michigan, but they also who'd they lose to 2 weeks ago? They lost whoever they lost to. Right
they lost
after.
to Iowa, which has
Iowa.
one of the worst
Yeah,
offenses.
but the
in
week before,
FBS.
Iowa got demolished by Ohio State.
Yeah.
So there's no middle line. We don't know where this game's gonna go. It'll probably be a good game.
Yeah. And I'm speaking to all Hoosier fans when I say this. Be at the game. At least be a College Game Day. Show your Hoosier pride. This
Wear
football
red.
team is 7-0. Some people call them legit. Some people call them frauds. Coach Sig is leading a new era, and it's so exciting.
So we're already on football. Let's get into the first video about Gerard Mayo.
Good evening, or whatever time it is. Look, disappointing game. Disappointing game. We came out, we started fast. What I would say is, look, we're a soft football team across the board. We talk about what makes a tough football team. That's being able to run the ball, that's being able to stop the run, and that's being able to cover kicks, and we did none of those today.
As a Patriots fan, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I think that before I covered Gerard Mayo, I know Devin McCourty said yesterday he doesn't like to see the discourse between Coach Belichick and Mayo because even though Belichick got fired and it was kind of, it wasn't amicable. Belichick still wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Kraft felt like he had to move on, which completely makes sense.
Oh yeah.
But
Long
Mayo
tenure.
should be able to go to Belichick as a mentor. Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. 8 Super Bowls, 2 with the Giants as a defense coordinator, 6 with the Patriots. And you see this, Mayo will say something. Then on all these news outlets like Inside the NFL, Coach with Mike Lombardi and Matt Patricia, and the Pat McAfee show, Belichick will take subtle shots at him. And I completely understand it because
And?
he wants to be the
Yeah.
coach there. But I don't like it. These are the Patriots head coaches. And there's the future and the past. And I think he should be a mentor. That's just my opinion.
I don't disagree with you. What I really liked about this was not actually the quote itself. It was Belichick, I think, was pretty much on the Pat McAfee show. He was talking about it, and maybe it wasn't the Pat. I saw it on my TikTok. It might have been the Pat McAfee show. But overall, he was saying this team isn't soft. They had the best pass rush last year at their defense. They re-signed all of those same guys, yet they're 20th in the league now. Yet they've dropped so much. Where is that? Obviously, their hard work isn't showing as much as it was last year, but those guys have grit and they're tough. So I don't think it's the fact that they're soft. I think he basically took a shot at Gerard saying it's the coaching.
Yeah. And I think that when you look at the quote, as you mentioned, he did not just say, we are a soft football team. He said, we are a soft football team across the board.
Which is everyone. And I
Yeah.
disagree.
And then I think that he tries to make up for the fact when he says, this is what makes a tough football team, and kind of implements, got to stop the run. Got to be able to run the ball, which they haven't been able to do with Drake May as the
They
quarterback.
didn't call him soft after they beat the Bengals.
Yeah. And I think that I don't see a lack of effort. I do see some complaining and some not buying in, which I think is coaching and players both alike.
Yeah.
But it really isn't a great quote, and this happens. He's a young head football coach. You're gonna make mistakes on the podium, but it isn't a great look. I think that I'm not saying he should apologize because I think that the players,
no,
from
no
what I've
apology.
seen, it's kind of a wake up call. Their head coach is not happy with their performance, and he
But
has every right to be.
I rather the coach say I'm disappointed, I'm not happy, rather than saying we're a soft football team. Because those guys in those locker rooms, it doesn't matter if you're the worst team, unless you're like the 0-16 Cleveland Browns. Those guys are soft. But any other team than that, not a soft football team, bro. Like every guy in that locker room works their butt off every day. And it just happens that this isn't the best team. And like, yeah, it happens. That's there's always gonna be the bottom feeders in the league. And unfortunately, the Patriots are one of them right now. And it shows, honestly, saying it's a soft football team, it shows the impatience that Gerard's having already in his first year as the coach. This isn't just like a 1 year and it's gonna flip next year. This is a rebuild. This is going to take multiple years to do, and he's got to be patient.
Yeah, Gerard was hired for the sole purpose of the rebuild, to strengthen the defense, which, even though the last couple of years has not been in the Patriot dynasty or even in the remnants of Patriots territory of being successful over the last 25, 26 years. But he really, I kind of like what you said. He has to understand the rebuild. And they're not going to be good. No one thought the Patriots were going to be good. I thought they were going to have one more win, maybe 2 more wins, maybe even 3, because I thought
They'll
they
get
looked
wins.
impressive.
It happens.
Their
Like
first game, yeah. And
there's gonna
I
be
think
a game where they, all of a sudden look like, the Chiefs. It's not every week. There's some games where they just like teams play better than others for unknown reasons. It happens, and that's just a part of any sport, but also it's a part of football. Like it just happens.
yeah,
Like
I agree.
it's hard. It's with the Hoosiers. It's like it's hard to flip a program in 1 year. But obviously, Coach Sig was able to do that because college football, you're kind of able to do that now with money and NIL a little differently than you can in the NFL because of salary cap stuff. But it's a day by day thing. You can't change the team in 1 day. And as much as he said they're soft, they're not soft. They're a brotherhood. They're a team. They'll move on. I don't know who they play this week.
They play at home against the Jets.
That's a winnable game.
Yeah, I agree. The Jets have been reeling.
Devontae
The Jets have
Adams
not looked great.
Might pop off on you guys, but just play good. Get that pass rush up. We'll be fine.
Yeah. The concerning thing for me is I don't necessarily think the players are going to lose respect, but it's not like Gerard Mayo has this track record of being this legendary coach. I mean, he's young. He's only been a defensive play caller, never essentially, because Belichick had different names and titles, never a defensive coordinator, but he did a great job. And I think that the concerning part for me on the field is not even the offense, because I think they just don't have the talent. And Alex Van Pelt has tried to do with what he has, but it's a process. And you have a young quarterback who I'm going to get to in a bit because I'm extremely excited about him. But their defense, their pass defense has been one of the worst in the league. And their run defense, as you mentioned, they were 1 in the league last year. 3.3 yards per carry. They kept him in the games. If we look back at the Patriots games last year, their offense couldn't do anything, but there were all these games where they gave up 13, 16, 20, 10 points. And the consensus was that if the Patriots get some players on offense and get a quarterback,
You'll be fine.
you're going to win some games. Not be good. You're going to win some games.
I think there's a difference between drafting a young quarterback and going to get a quarterback. If anything, they should have gone and got Russell. That's a experienced quarterback who can lead a young team. Unfortunately, I'm not saying Drake Mayo is a bad pick or Jacoby Brissett isn't that guy to do that, but they had the chance to go do it, and I think it was an opportunity passed up. But let's hear what you have to say about Drake May, because I know you got some stuff written down here.
Seth, in May, I would have agreed with you because I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan. I think that what we've mentioned so far is you have to stand back to reality. This team, regardless of what quarterback is on, I don't care if it's Patrick Mahomes, I don't care if it's vintage Tom Brady. They would not be a Super Bowl contender or
I
a playoff
agree.
contender.
I agree.
And I think that, yes, there is some discussion and still will be discussion on, do you pick that offensive lineman instead of Drake May? But I think in terms of what Drake May has put on the field and produced,
Oh, he's looked great.
yeah. I mean, he played against the
Played like
Texans.
2 games, 3 games now. He looks good.
Statistically and on the field, as I've watched a couple of Texans games this year, I think arguably he's been the best quarterback against the Texans. And you play a Jags team who, to be fair, is not a great defense. 30th, 29th in the NFL in many categories with not great pressure. Drake May stood in there and made some dimes. And what I think is extremely important for the future, the Patriots the last couple of years have had no downfield passing game. Ever since he came in, week 6, the last 2 starts, he's 4th in completions, number 1 in passer rating. He's getting the ball to those playmakers. Hunter Henry over the middle, Booty, KJ Osborne. And turnover-worthy plays is tied fewest, which for Drake May, and I don't want to go on a tangent, go off the whole thing about Mayo. For Drake May, for him to have the tied fewest turnover-worthy plays is essential to his success.
You got to remember, he also has played half the games
Yeah.
other quarterbacks have played, so these stats aren't really comparable yet.
Well,
until
I mean,
we
it's
get
the last
way
2
deeper.
games, like compared to everyone else.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think Drake May is going to become an outstanding player for the NFL. Obviously, it's his rookie year. I think we should move on.
Yeah, the last thing I'm going to say, I love you, Gerard Mayo. I'm a huge Patriots fan. But me being in sports media, I've learned there are some things you should say to the media, some things you shouldn't. He's got to go to the Belichick route
Ignore
and
the
just stop
media.
talking. Tell them nothing. Say on to the Jets, on to Cincinnati. Typical Belichick terms. Don't give the media anything to stir up anything in the locker room.
I
This
agree.
team is not going to be good, but you want to keep the locker room together for this year and the future.
All right, so keeping it in the NFL, we are going to go over to the Cincinnati Bengals and Cleveland Browns games in Cleveland this past weekend. Deshaun Watson ruptured his Achilles, and it was not pretty. I don't remember the backup's name that came in. It was not Jameson Winston right away.
Dorian Thompson Robinson.
Although Winston should have, I
I
don't
agree.
know why Winston didn't go in right away. You were telling me he had some like issue at the beginning of the game.
I have
and then
no
he ended
idea.
up going in, so I
Yeah.
don't know what the issue was. Let's see what Jameson Winston had to say post game after the fans in Cleveland were booing him entering.
The way I was raised, I was taught to love no matter the circumstances, especially for people who do right by you. I'm grateful that I had a chance to serve Deshaun, but I am very upset with the reaction to a man that has had the world against him.
Seth, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I remember we were watching the game, and I looked at you and I was like, "Did you see this video of like fans in Cleveland booing Watson when he was running on the field?" And you were just like, "No, it's just like it's one thing. Like I understand Stefanski, doesn't want to start Winston or any one over Watson. I respect it. Like you're paying this guy to do his job the best he can be." But at the same time, he's not performing well, and maybe he needs 1 week's bench, or even come in later in the game, and Winston starts. Jameis Winston, outstanding leader. He's always been an outstanding leader ever since he was on Florida State. It was just 10 years ago that he was playing there and led Florida State to the semifinals against Oregon. I think it was said right. I think he spoke, wonderfully about it. Like I understand, like. He's kind of a man to God. He's a very religious kind of, spokesman. And he should be upset. If anything, I'd be upset as a player on the Browns if I was upset. Because, yes, Deshaun Watson has the world against his back. He's not the most liked individual. Personally, I don't like him. But I can understand as a teammate, like, yeah, you might not, think he's the best human. But like this is your leader. This is your quarterback, and sometimes you have to separate that on and off the field as teammates. And that's exactly what he's doing here. Because Deshaun Watson has so much crap to deal with outside of football that like it's hard, when you're now in football and now everyone's even coming on top of you in it. So I think Winston spoke wonderfully about it. What are your thoughts on it?
I completely agree with everything you said. I think what's also interesting, and I really was not happy to see this. There were the booing at the beginning of the game, but when he had the Achilles tear on the
Were
field,
fans cheering?
the fans were cheering.
Right.
The majority of fans were cheering. And regardless of what you think the human being is, I'm also not a huge fan of Deshaun Watson. We're talking about a football player here. We're talking about someone that is out for the year, just got an injury. And regardless of if you're a Browns fan, their opponent, an NFL fan, to cheer for someone's injury
It's like cheering
and
the
someone's
way-
heartache, that is in bad taste. 100%.
It is bad taste, and it literally defines the Browns organization as a whole. It's a joke. Like Cleveland sports, specifically the Browns, have always looked to be as a joke, and this does not help the fans in Cleveland's case. It's sad. It really is sad because you're laughing away and cheering away, like the first round picks you literally gave away for this guy.
Yeah.
Your organization knew what they were getting while receiving Watson. They took a risk. And not saying it's the Browns' fault, but the fans need to react better.
Yeah, and what I loved about this was Jameis Winston was talking about the way he was raised and how Deshaun Watson has done right by him. And he's very upset with the reaction to a man that has had the world against him. And what I loved about it, and I'm glad we got to listen to the quote, was he talked slowly and concisely. And to me, that showed in the tone he used. He wanted to get this message out because he wanted to show not just who he was, but who he expects everyone to be around him.
Yeah.
And Jameis Winston throughout his career, very comedic guy, humorous. If I'm going to look up a quarterback and look up funniest moments, it would be him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But he's been a leader. And he's a great locker room guy. No one's ever had complaints. And for him to back his quarterback up when he's effectively getting the starting job, which not every backup would do because they want him to play,
Yeah.
shows a lot about his character and how he was raised and who he is as a human being. So I just want to take the second to applaud Jameis Winston because this is something we already knew about him, but it just makes me respect him more and more.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's go on
Let's move to
to the NBA.
NBA. Let's big week this week.
Huge week.
Last week the NHL started. This week, the NBA started, and with the NBA starting, history was made the other night with LeBron James and LeBron James Jr. Bronny playing with each other, setting NBA history as the first father and son duo to play with each other on the same team.
It's pretty impressive. I think,
It's amazing.
yeah, I think we should take a look at what Bronny and LeBron in a post-game interview together said.
It's family. It's always been family over everything. And, for me, I lost a lot of time because of this league and committing to this league, being on the road at times, missing a lot of his things, Bryce's things, Zuri's things. So to be able to have this moment where I'm working still and I can work alongside my son, it's one of the greatest gifts I've ever got from the man above, and I'm going to take full advantage of it.
What I love about this is LeBron started off with it's family and how he's had to sacrifice not being able to be at Bronny's events or Bryce's or Zuri's or being there for his family because he's been on the road. And arguably one of the greatest, or a lot of people will agree, the greatest player of our generation. And he's had to sacrifice a lot. And for
Oh, yeah.
him, to
Hell
have
yeah,
his
he had to
entire family
sacrifice a lot.
there, Bronny playing with him, I can't even imagine how he feels.
I mean, some may call LeBron the GOAT. I call him the GOAT. I mean, I'm not a big rooter of the NBA, but I'm a big Cleveland guy. I like the Cavs. And, my childhood, LeBron James. I remember watching the block on Iguodala in the finals. I like LeBron was my childhood for basketball. That's all I ever looked up to, and this is amazing because Bronny's our age. Bronny's 19, 20 years old. It's amazing to see that, he's put so much into this league, and to be able to being blessed to even get to play with his son is just amazing, and it's a beautiful thing. Like, yeah, it's a circle of life, but like it's wonderful and it's outstanding and it's beautiful to see that, LeBron's put so much hard work, and we know the hard work he's put in to even get the chance to play with his son. It's crazy to me. Like, we all
Yeah,
knew it was gonna
yeah,
happen. Like, yeah, he had a child young. I mean, Bronny, like, even Bryce might play, but like, maybe not with them, but
yeah.
maybe Bronny and Bryce play with each other one day. Like,
That'd be amazing.
and
Brothers,
then guess who gets to watch them on the court? LeBron.
LeBron.
Like,
And he's probably owning the team, which he's
most
said
likely
in the
whatever
past.
team,
Yeah.
a team.
If LeBron owns the team, his sons will be on the team, regardless of if they're good or not.
That's like infinite. I don't even know what that is. That's like an infinite glitch.
Yeah. And I think that, yes, a lot of media outlets are talking about Bronny. And I think it is funny to me when you'll see on TikTok, I saw something, look at Bronny's pass to assist. That isn't a thing.
Bronny had a great game yesterday.
Yeah.
He
But-
had over 15 points.
Bronny, he didn't have
Yeah.
any points.
Not the other night. He had 15 points.
Opening night?
In the other game, I saw a video of him
Oh,
scoring.
preseason.
Was that preseason game?
Yeah.
He scored every way he could. It
Yeah.
was great.
I think that it's going to take him some time. I do think it's best for him to go to the G League to develop his skills.
Oh yeah.
But I think LeBron and the Lakers needed this moment, and people will criticize this moment because they're haters and they think it's nepotism, which I will say it is because I don't think Bronny should be getting minutes in the NBA at this point in time. But
Oh, I don't either.
LeBron is one of the greatest players of all time. He has the complete right to have his organization. People call him La GM, La General Manager, for a reason. If he wanted to draft his son, he has all the right to. And if he wants his son to play in the first game of the season, why not? He's looking for that moment, makes him smile. He already knows his road is going to end either this year or next year. It made me smile because I love this at the end of this quote, one of the greatest quotes I've ever seen in my life, when he says, "This is one of the greatest gifts I've ever received." He's gotten so many accolades, but for him to say that about a random first game opener, but because he's on the court with his son for around 3 minutes, I can't imagine how emotional he was and what he felt.
I have two things about this. Yesterday, a thought came to my head. I was like, I wonder how much LeBron paid the Lakers to draft Bronny. Like, it just came to my head. I was like, this is so crazy and all, like, but we knew they were gonna be on the same team because either way, like, LeBron was gonna go to the team that drafted Bronny, and obviously, he's grateful that the Lakers drafted him, but he had to, there had to be something behind the scenes that went on, and like, maybe that was a little pay reduction that we don't know about, or donation, or I'm sure there was something. I don't remember the other thing I was gonna say, but this is exciting. Bronny needs some time for development because I personally thought he should have stayed an extra year at USC. Just because he came in late. He had that heart issue. He collapsed a little over 2 years ago now. Over time, he'll make it, and he's actually looked so much better in the preseason game where he had over 15 points. He looked very different than he did at USC. He's developing. I'm sure he's been working so much in the offseason, especially with his dad. I mean, goodness sake, his dad is LeBron James. So if you're going to take advice from anyone, I hope it's him. And I do remember the second thing I was going to say, JJ Redick. I'm excited for him to be the coach. I think he's one of the most smartest. He's a basketball guru, genius. He just knows everything about basketball, and he knows what he wants. Literally saw a clip of him this morning talking about how he was really upset he's going to the league about that, why they're using fresh new game balls in their games. He said every game ball should be worn out a little bit. And I honestly don't disagree with him. I mean, it depends the sport, and I think a basketball needs to be used up a little bit. But baseball, pitchers like fresh balls, and I understand that. As I was a pitcher in high school, we don't have the ability to ask for like a new ball, like every pitch. But every time you get a new open like packet of ball, it feels nice. The grip's nice. It feels great on your fingers. And I'm sure it's the same way with the basketball. Even with the soccer ball, I'm sure it's similar. Like you don't wanna like it be like super inflated. You want it to be like perfect. So I think we can move on to we're gonna go to the NHL. Connor McDavid. Some call him McJesus, some call him McNasty. And let's hear what he had to say before the start of the season.
Well, we certainly don't want to put ourselves in the same spot as last year. But all while knowing that, you can maybe dig yourself out of a hole if there is a bad start. I think there's that confidence in the group. But that being said, we don't want to go through that again. We want to get off to a good start, just like every team around the league. Everybody wants to get off to a good start. It's important, and we're looking to do that as well.
What I love about this quote is he understood last year it was a slow start.
Oh, very slow start.
Yeah. And I think that even though they had an amazing comeback and got to Game 7 of the NHL Finals, which proving that the slow start didn't really mean much, it's so important to start off on a good note.
Oh, I agree. Like you can't dig yourself. You can't put yourself in a hole. Like it's just specifically with hockey. I don't think there's another sport like it that really shows how hard you have to work there. Like yes, the Oilers started. Like obviously there's 18 games haven't happened yet in the NHL this season, but through 18 games last year, the Oilers they had 5 wins, 12 losses, and 1 overtime loss. That is 11 points through 18 games. That is not a lot. And the fact that they were able to even make the playoffs was a crazy thing. Like they were so down. After this stretch, they fired their coach. They went to go hire. Don't remember his name at the moment. It's kind of weird to pronounce. But he was McDavid's junior league coach. He knows how to coach McDavid. After they hired him, it was still a little slow. Then they won 16 games straight. That ties a record with the Blue Jackets from the 2015-16 season. And it just shows that they can push their way through anything. They might not have, a Vezina winning candidate, which is the goalie of the year, best goalie in the NHL. They might not have a Vezina winning goalie. Stuart Skinner isn't he's not Sergei Bobrovsky. And that showed in the finals. But he helped push them. He had a great stretch of the season. That whole team turned around. They weren't, the same old Oilers we know from the last 10 years. They showed that they're a little different, and the fact that Connor McDavid said multiple times last year, it is cup or bust. They pushed themselves to the cup. Obviously, they busted. They didn't win, but they were this close.
Yeah.
Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and obviously the season has started now. We're 7 games in of the NHL season. The Oilers are 2-4-1. That is 5 points right there. It is not a lot of points, unfortunately. At the same time, they didn't win a game till 4 games or 5 games in. They dug themselves in a hole. This is subtle foreshadowing. He didn't want to dig himself in a hole. And honestly, Connor McDavid wasn't performing well the first 3 games. He didn't get a point until the 4th game. Obviously, he's 8 points to 7 games. Yes, he's over a point per game. It's great. It's what you want from your star players. But at the same time, he's a leader in this group, and he didn't want to start a slow start. And ironically, here we are, having another slow start to the season.
Yeah, and I think that with hockey, just like basketball, you can have stretches. You can get streaky. And I think what they did was extremely impressive to me. I've seen clips about McDavid during the finals really showing anger, but a lot of just ability to overcome adversity to his team. Because I think as a leader, you have to show the expectation that you not only have for yourself and your teammates. And I think that when you said cup or bust, it's another year of cup or bust.
Every year
He
for
is
him
the best player that has been in the NHL for the last
Since Wayne
several
Gretzky.
years. And I think that when you have that great player, you have a guy like Zach Hyman, Draisaitl, if I'm not mistaken. They have a lot of talent.
Evan Bouchard. They got
They-
good defense.
yeah,
They got everything. I mean, like, yes, the goalie, like, Stu Skinner's, again, not like an A-tier goalie. Very mid-B tier. Not a bad goalie. They just need to keep working as a team. Like, this team can win a cup, and I expect McDavid to do it again. As you were talking about, like, we were watching in the HBO series, highly recommend it. The last 2 episodes are called Cup or Bust, and it is inside the locker room footage of the Panthers and the Oilers Stanley Cup final. And, like, there's a clip where he is just screaming. They are now down 3-0 in the series. Maybe it was after game 2. They're down 2-0 in the series. And he's just absolutely tearing everyone in the locker room. He's tearing himself. He knows that this isn't what they're made of. Like, they need to show what they're here for and not be ran through by the Panthers.
yeah.
And it
and
shows the captaincy is like this guy, his whole life. Like some people may call McDavid a bot, a computer, a robot, anything. It's just like people don't think he's normal. And it's because of the way he acts. Like he's an introvert, and that is perfectly okay. Everyone's introverted. I'm introverted sometimes. You're introverted sometimes. This was the most open I've ever seen him be in any footage. He has grown as a leader, and I think he grew a lot more last season just by battling adversity and overcoming these obstacles. Like, yes, there's been cameras following this kid, he's 27. This guy since he was 8 years old. He's been a prodigy his whole life. His whole life is hockey. And he has said in that documentary, like he's never thought about a life without doing hockey. And I understand that because that is literally what his life's been set up for. His life is literally to go win Stanley Cups. Yes,
Yeah.
we have Crosby, we have Ovechkin. Connor McDavid, he's catching limits, man. He's breaking records. He's proven every year he's played, even his rookie year when he got hurt and missed half the season, why he is the best player and going to be the best player of all time.
Hockey is the ultimate team sport. What they do with the puck, how they train. It's a year-round. When you're in the league for 15 plus years, that's 15 years of your life, every single day, training towards one common goal of winning the Stanley Cup. And I think what I love about this quote is he said there's confidence in the group to overcome a slow start. But he also said it's imperative for them not to have it. That shows to me that he knows he can get out of it, but it really isn't necessary. If they can stay steady, because in these sports, you want to put in 100% effort, but when there's a meaningless game 20, game 30 of the season, you want to be able to rest players. You want to be able to experiment. When you're a team in a whole, you can't experiment. When you're the number one team, it gives you the ability at the end of the season or even mid-season going to the All-Star break.
No All-Star game this year.
There's no All-Star game?
The NHL is experimenting, as you just said.
Why?
They are doing. They're gonna have a
Yeah.
break, and it's gonna be called the Four Nation Face Off.
Okay.
So it is Sweden, Finland, Canada, and USA. All players in the NHL.
Yeah.
It's basically an All-Star game
Okay.
because there's 4 All-Star teams because of the divisions. There's gonna be 4 country teams and players are gonna come play. So honestly, more players might have time off than they normally do because of this. Because obviously they're gonna go for the best of the best, but some people are gonna not want to play because they want to be with their family and break.
Yeah. And I think the last thing I'm going to say about this is in last postseason, it wasn't even how many points, because he had 42 points, which is absurd.
Yeah.
For McDavid, it was 34 assists, which broke Gretzky's record
Yeah,
that he had in 1991.
He
And
won the Conn Smythe Trophy.
I think that for him to do that, assist, which is passing and feeding your teammates, that shows what leader you are.
Yeah.
And I think it can definitely get overlooked that a player may have a lot of goals and whatever, assist doesn't matter, total points doesn't matter. But for me, as someone who's been trying to learn hockey over the last year, to have a leader that can command the locker room and use the puck wisely, that's how you win. And that's the only way you get out of a slow start. If it is one-man hero ball or hero puck or whatever you want to call it, I know for a fact you will not get out of it. And I believe McDavid and the Oilers have a shot. And I'm not worried to the slightest.
Oh, I'm not worried either.
Because they've done it before.
I'm cheering deep down for them because, like, I was in a very, big pickle. I mean, I was working at camp. I left my day off early to go back to camp and watch this Game 7 in the staff lounge. Some of my buddies. Yes, at one end, you have Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. I want them both to win cups. Yes, they're both going to make the Hall of Fame no matter what. But it's give that peace saying, McDavid and Draisaitl won a cup together. They can part ways if this needs to happen now. The other end, we have Sergei Bobrovsky, one of my childhood heroes. He was the goaltender for the Blue Jackets. He was a 10-year on the team. He's one of my favorite players to watch still. I didn't know who to cheer for in Game 7. And that might have been one of the greatest Game 7s I've ever seen because it was a one-goal game. It was tight all the way through. It was tied for a long period of time. No one had a clear win. Literally, the Oilers were dominating at the end. They kept shooting it, and everyone thought they were going to keep scoring. There was a moment where McDavid almost scored and went in, and he whiffed on it.
I think
It's
that
just
we should.
it was
yeah.
just great.
What are your final comments on NHL?
Hockey is great.
Yeah.
Everyone should watch it. Go Blue Jackets. All right, let's head to
Let's
our
head
last
to
video.
The MLB
we're going to the World Series.
Game 1.
Dodgers, Yankees.
Yup.
Friday night. It's going to be a show. We got Flaherty versus Cole on the mound. It's going to be great. Baseball's back. It's almost done. We got about a week and a half left of it. Let's take a look what Aaron Judge has to say before the World Series.
Now getting to this point, this is where the real fun starts. For years as a kid watching the Yankees, playing the World Series, win World Series, just that excitement, the emotion, how the city comes alive is something, definitely special, and looking forward to doing that with this group.
I think it's crazy. Like yes, the last three teams in the league, Mets, Yankees, Dodgers. Those are the three highest payrolls in all of baseball. Makes sense. It's New York, LA. But these are the two greatest teams on each side of the league right now.
I love what Aaron Judge mentions here because even though, I am a Red Sox fan, I'm going to try not to be biased in this interpretation of what he said. But he said for years as a kid, watching the Yankees, seeing them win World Series and get to them, that's what you dream about.
Yeah.
And for a baseball player who's been in the spotlight ever since he came in when he was young, 25 years old, around 2016, Aaron Judge has 100% been a top 5 player. He's been incredible.
Oh, yeah.
He has struck out, I think, over the last couple of years. Strikeout rates are kind of steady, but his average keeps going up, getting the ball in play. Last year, he got 62 home runs. This year, 58. He can put a charge into the ball. I think that it showed to me with the tone that he used how calm he was. This is his first. The Yankees have not been back since 2009.
The thing is,
His first World Series.
He's not much older than us. It is his first World Series, but he kind of had a similar childhood. He watched the same World Series, other than a few than us. He watched the Yankees go to many World Series when we were young children. And it's definitely exciting for him to be playing, on the Yankees, playing in the World Series. It's something excited to talk about. I will say, if the Yankees do win, I know for a fact they're just going to give him MVP. He does not have MVP stats for the playoffs. Let's take a look at his average. obviously, I mean, you talked about this batting average doesn't really, say a whole lot, but it's a low average. 161. It's kind of low. He's only got 2 home runs.
Yeah.
I don't know how many RBIs. I can look that up really quick.
I think that what's interesting is he only has 5 hits out of 31 at bats.
It's not a lot.
And it's a bit concerning. The 2 home runs did come at crucial times, and it does show the power that he possesses. But I think for someone like him, it's about really scouting and reading these pitchers.
He does have
The-
6 RBIs.
Yeah. Which is, proves that his home runs and his hits have come at crucial times. But when you're someone like Aaron Judge in that order, top of the order for the New York Yankees in this World Series, you have to be a steady player. I don't care if he bats 250 or 350 or 450. I cannot see that average go below. And I know that we've talked about average doesn't mean a whole lot, but the home runs are crucial.
When you're the captain of this
The
team,
RBIs are more crucial, but also
Gotta
for
put
him
more
to
work.
get on base. Remember, he's not a slow guy. He may be huge, 6'7", 275, linebacker, Rob Gronkowski type,
mm-hmm.
but this guy's an all-time. And if he's able to cement his legacy, bringing New York a championship, which they've coveted for the last 15, 16 years, he's going to go down as a Yankee legend with the captain,
Oh, yeah.
with Mariano
I
Rivera.
could low-key already consider him a Yankees
yeah,
legend.
Mickey
The
Mantle.
home runs
Yeah.
prove it to me.
And
He's a
I think
powerhouse.
it's great because you see
He's a dog.
Judge, and then there's Ohtani.
Soto.
This is an all-time matchup, and people can say these are 2 of the most or the least likable teams in the league,
Oh, yeah.
and
for
I
sure.
wouldn't disagree.
I wouldn't either.
But I love that for the sport of baseball
Yeah.
because I think what's interesting about baseball is you can be a great team, small market, and still have an opportunity because of the way you construct your team, farm system, etc. But this year has been pure. Who is the best team? They're the last teams remaining. And I think that,
It's going to be
yes,
proven.
there are those Diamondbacks World Series like last year going against the Rangers, which they ultimately lost. But it's great to see. And,
I have
you
a
know, it's in
question
New
for
York,
you.
in LA, and it's going to be a good one.
What how many games do you think this is going to have? I'm going to say 6 or 7.
I think it's going 7.
I'd love it to go 7. I love sports going game 7. I love do or die games. Go big or go home. That this is exactly what sports are about. Championships, game 7s, proving the haters wrong, showing a city why they love you guys so much, and it's gonna be exciting. Speaking about showing cities that love you so much, we're gonna see a whole lot of Bloomington this week wearing red versus the Huskies. Go Hoosiers!
Yeah. And we're going to get to that in a second. But the last thing, I want to ask you a question. I want to give our predictions. I know we talked about games. I have the Yankees, even though it's hard for me to say it. I have the Yankees winning in 7. How about you?
Dodgers in 7. Otani's pitching in game 7 as well. He'll be back.
I thought, is he allowed to?
He's been pitching before games.
Well,
There's a chance.
we will see. It'll be a great one.
We will see. What are your predictions for the Indiana game this week? I know we haven't ever kind of made predictions on anything. I'm kind of both superstitious, but I think it's time for us to predict the 7-0 Hoosiers score this week.
The Hoosiers are going to win by 10-plus points. I think
it's
going to
going to
be
32-10.
I think it's going to be around a 24-13 game. I think that it's going to remain relatively neutral, but Ellison and Lawton really going to it's
Surratt
going to be
looked great
ground and
last week,
pound.
too.
I am a bit worried about David Jackson. I think that he's relatively inexperienced and it's a new offense, and he had a great week last week, but he was going against
The run game's going to be
Nebraska.
strong. They're going to use the run game a lot more.
a lot of their seconds and third strings, but he has some experience. Coach Sig will make sure that the game plan is right for him and it will be well implemented. Coach Sig is this kind of old school coach, which was needed for Bloomington.
Yeah.
And they're going to go 8-0, and there's a real shot. I'm not going to
If-
jinx. There's a real shot at a playoff. People need to start realizing that.
I called the playoffs last year. He can attest to that. I've only ever been saying playoff team. In my opinion, last week was a big step. Last week was the week we proved people wrong. We beat Nebraska. We beat this team that, everyone came in and said, we're going to win. or they're gonna win. We're nonsense. We proved them wrong. It's gonna be great. This is another big week to prove the people wrong again. As much as Washington has 2 losses, they're gonna show why we're ready for the playoffs, why we're gonna compete, and I said compete, against Ohio State in a few weeks, and why we are going to absolutely shut down Michigan in just 2 short weeks. Till then, I think we'll see everyone later.
Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend.
Go vote. Have a day.